What is going on, world? And welcome to another edition of College Football Showdown presented by Prime Sports World. I'm your host, Israel Rivera, here with Matt James, and later on, Christian Simpson should be joining us from the Daily Blitz blog. But a lot to talk about. Matt, how you doing on this great Friday? Ready to talk some football? Watching Virginia Tech versus Miami right now, and it looks like Virginia Tech showing off that defense right now.
Yeah, absolutely. They're holding Miami offense in Miami too. Is that still in Miami?
Yeah,
I
no,
haven't
it's
turned
in
the game
it's in
on.
Miami. They
So
they
okay.
took. Oh wow, they went for a fake.
So yeah,
What a
Virginia
stupid
Tech's
play.
defense is showing up, and
Yeah, they turned
it's a
Cam Ward over
dangerous
three
game for
times.
Miami. So
Yeah, they turned
um,
Cam Ward over three times, two interceptions, one fumble. After he had a hot start too. They just went for a fake though, and they just didn't get it. Should have kicked the field goal there. They're up 10 points, Matt. That might
they're
they
getting
might they
greedy.
might bite them in the butt.
Yeah, that's where it costs teams games. Is getting greedy at that point. Take the points.
Yeah, getting greedy is definitely the word. But anyways, before we start the show, please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast here at Prime Sports World. And in case you missed it, you catch on all streaming platforms where podcasts can't be heard. That's um, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. You can catch us on that, and then you can catch us on all streaming platforms where podcasts can be heard. That's iHeartRadio, Spotify, Samsung Music, Apple Music, and whatever else that we're on. We're on a whole plethora of them. So yeah, go ahead and catch us on all those streaming platforms. But before we start the show, before we get into week 5 this week, we always go over headlines and top headlines from last week. Number 6 Tennessee defeating number 15 Oklahoma in Norman, Oklahoma. And the headline for the headlines last week is "Rake It Up," because some teams were just raking up the wins and raking up the votes, and some players were trying to rake up some money. So we'll get to that. But anyways, number 6 Tennessee 25 to beat Oklahoma 25-15. Nico Ialamaleva 13 to 21, 194 yards, one touchdown. We had Dylan Simpson, 24 carries, 92 yards, a touchdown. But really, it was the defense of Oklahoma that was pretty impressive, in my opinion, as they were able to get to the quarterback. They were able to get 3 sacks on the day. Both teams were able to get to the quarterback, get 3 sacks on the day, but Tennessee's defense was really stingy in this one, as they held Oklahoma to only 36 yards rushing, only 186 yards passing, and then on the other end, Tennessee was able to run the football 52 times for 151 yards. I think that's the ball game right there. Is that Oklahoma still a work in progress defensively?
Yeah, no, I mean that's a big loss for Oklahoma. I mean they need to win those type of games, but I do commend their defense on holding the Tennessee
Yeah,
offense in check for most of the game. I mean they didn't pull away until Tennessee had pretty much command of the game for the whole game, but they were held in check and didn't
yeah,
pull away till the end there.
yeah.
And Tennessee, their offense can explode, and we've seen that numerous times already. And it don't matter who they play. So, Oklahoma, they're going to be fine. Their defense keeps it up, and their offense just needs to get back to practice, and get things going again.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Absolutely, they definitely need to get back. They definitely need to get back on track with this game. And I have no doubt that Tennessee will get back in check. offensively. I mean, they did what they had to do. I mean, Oklahoma is an improving defense under Brent Venables, and you're starting to see a little bit of it, but just last week wasn't their week. I mean, they Jackson Arnold, I'm not sure if he went down with an injury in this game, but he particularly didn't play well. 7 to 16, 54 yards, 1 interception. He was, got minus 21 yards on rushing. But I just know that Tennessee was pretty stout defensively in the route. Yeah. And then next headline, number 18 Michigan pulls away late versus number 11 USC. That was actually a nip and tuck. That was a really close game all the way into the end when Michigan, finally pulled away from them. With seven with that late touchdown that they had in the game. Miller Moss was pretty good. 28 to 51, 283 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's looking like one of the next best quarterbacks under Lincoln Riley. But yeah, Michigan scored that 1-yard touchdown run. They went on a 10-play drive, scored with 37 seconds left, and that was all. Khalil Mullins, 17 carries, 159 yards, 2 touchdowns. Pretty much a coming out party for him. He had that nice 53-yard touchdown run for Michigan. But this is a win that Michigan really, really, really needed.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a fun back and forth game. Yeah, I give it to Miller Moss, showing it again that he is one of the top quarterbacks, at least so far this year, and he's still proving that going into the big house against a tough Michigan defense and nearly beating them last weekend until the USC defense fell apart on that one long run by Michigan, and they finished it off from there. But it was a fun game to the end, and we'll see how both teams continue their trends here, as Michigan's offense is looking like it's starting to get things, going a little bit now compared
Yeah,
to the first couple
absolutely.
of games.
Well, I mean, they ran the ball 46 times. They got back down to the identity, running it with Mullings and Edwards. I think having Alex Orji in the game, I think they'll start to open up the passing game a little bit more as he gets comfortable under center. But he did run the football effectively, 13 carries for 43 yards. That was one of those, games where, Michigan grinded it out. They play Big Ten football against a Pac-12, essentially a Pac-12 opponent, and USC. It's going to take a couple years for these Pac-12 guys to kind of get used to that nitty-gritty Big Ten type of play.
The Midwest football versus West Coast.
Midwest. Yeah. It's going to take them a few years to kind of get used to it. I think once they do, I think the speed of the West Coast will kind of catch up to them in the Big Ten with some of the Big Ten guys. But man, what a hell of a game this was. And like I said, Michigan really needed this game to stay alive in the college football playoff, and they did. Next sideline, and this is pretty much the reason for raking it up here, Matt James, as UNLV quarterback Matthew Sluka leaves the 3-0 UNLV Running Rebels over an NIL gaffe. Reportedly, he was promised to leave, I believe it was Holy Cross, which was his last school, to leave. He was verbally promised $100,000 in NIL money, but he only received $3,000. He was only paid $3,000 since he had been at UNLV. And UNLV, he went to athletic trainers. Oh wow, that's breaking news. I'm sorry, I don't know if you saw that, but it said Karl Anthony Towns is probably going to get traded to the New York Knicks. Anyways, I know we'll talk about that off the camera. Holy shit,
that's big.
That's big. That's big news. Anyways, So basically, he was not promised that, the money that he was, he was not given the money that he was promised verbally. And when he went to UNLV, the coaches and everything, they told him basically that he wasn't going to get the money. And then it was reportedly came out that like a vice president or a president of some casino in Vegas was reached out to athletic department to offer him an NIL deal with the casino for $100,000 to keep him at UNLV, and UNLV turned it down. So and then one of his teammates actually left too. Quit and left. And UNLV is on the precipice. They're probably the second ranked G5 school right now. I think Boise State may be the first G5 school ranked, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, even with that loss, but it was on the road to Oregon. I think they are still number one.
They are number one. Obviously, after Northern Illinois lost to Buffalo.
Yeah.
But your thoughts on this and what kind of rabbit hole this is gonna, cause?
What the hell is UNLV thinking?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, they have the straight path to making that playoff, and they're looking great right now. Now you pretty much just threw it all away after an agreement too. I mean, I don't blame Matthew Sluka and whatever other teammates left with him. I mean, you're promised something and you're not going to get paid that, and you're, being told, everything else. And even when the casinos are trying to help out around the area, it's like, and they're denying them. It's like, what's your whole point in this? Why did you bring him in at this point? It's like, I don't blame him at all. So I would have left. I mean, he was promised the $100K. I mean, especially part of the still new, or I should say, NIL over the years here. I mean, this is going to generate a lot of money, and now you're going to lose a lot of money for the university once you start losing football games.
Yeah, this was the total gaffe. This was the total dropping of the ball on UNLV side, and totally and I wouldn't expect less out of that program that's been pretty minuscule the last 10 years or so. They're one of the losingest, probably one of the most losses in FBS for Division One, for FBS program. They probably have the most loss in the last 10 years, or kind of they're up there in the top 15 or something like that of most losses. You finally have a really good team. Matthew Sluka, he just came off of an excellent performance in week 4, if I'm not mistaken. And you're gonna fumble against Kansas, by the way. At Kansas. I mean, that's a game that, especially Kansas is a good team. Jaden Daniels, Devin Neal, those are good players. And Matthew Suga, he ran for 124 yards on 19 carries. I mean, he was a star. He was the man on campus, and he just, they just dropped the ball on this. There's no way you should be, dropping the ball on guys that are, taking your football program to another level. So yeah, now Matthew Sluka is probably going to get paid somewhere else. And, there's a good lesson for him and his father and everybody else is, don't take a verbal. I need something written in hand, and I need a contract. I need we need to signed, sealed, and delivered, and I need my money pronto. And this is the age of college football now, right? Where it's NIL is and it might change now with the new rule with the NCAA governing body. We'll see how that all goes. But yeah, this is the new loophole that NIL has caused, where players are leaving because they're not getting paid, and rightfully so. Rightfully so, because the universities are making millions and billions of dollars off the backs of these guys, and when you have an assistant coach who wasn't authorized to, I hope he gets fired. I mean, I don't hope anybody loses their job, but I hope he does, because this just ruined UNLV's chances of possibly making the college football playoff. So this is a total gaffe and a program changer, because now you're going to have guys that aren't going to want to transfer into UNLV. Like, we don't want to deal with that. You guys are going to promise us 200,000, 100,000, six-figure NIL deals and not pay us, like we're not going to come to your program. So it's a ripple effect that's going to happen here for that program.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially with the realignments of the conferences, and one of them being the Pac-12 or Pac-2 right now, that's looking for more teams, or Pac-6 or 8 or whatever you want to call it in the future, and they could be one of those teams.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
absolutely.
that's huge.
Absolutely, man. They could be one of those teams. Next on the slate, we got the AP Top 25. We usually run through the Top 25, just kind of going over it. Number one, we got Texas still there. They got 44 first place votes. At number two, we got Georgia. They got 13 first place votes. At number three, Ohio State. They had 5 first place votes. And then at number 4, Alabama. And then rounding out the top 5 is Tennessee as they go into the top 5 for the first time this season. Top 4 stays the same. No big surprises there. And then at number 6, we got Ole Miss. At 7, Miami's playing right now against Virginia Tech. Shout out to the Hurricanes. They're having an amazing season. They're getting close. Cam Ward just scored a touchdown and brought them in within 3. And then at number 8, we got Oregon moving up a slot. Number 9, Penn State moving up a slot. And then round up the top 10, we have the University of Utah moving up a couple slots here into the top 10. And then at number 11, we got Mizzou dropping 4 slots. Just kind of been unimpressed with them the last couple weeks. At number 12, Michigan moves up 6 slots after beating USC. And at number 13, we got USC. They move down 2 slots. They play Wisconsin. Wisconsin comes into the Coliseum this week. And then at number 14, we got LSU. South Alabama comes into Death Valley to play the LSU Tigers. And then at number 15, Louisville has a big game on the road in South Bend against number 16 Notre Dame. That should be an excellent game this weekend. You guys don't want to watch that. We'll preview that one in a second. Yeah. And then at number 17, we got Clemson moving up 4 slots, going up against Stanford. At 18, man, Iowa State just continues to win. Goes up 2 slots. Going up against Houston this week. That's a team that's been silently pretty good. And then number 19, we got the University of Illinois, best team in Illinois so far. I mean, Northern Illinois was, and now they dropped out the top 25. So Illinois with a big win against Nebraska last week. They move up 5 slots. They got another top 10 game, top 25 game, but this is against a top 10 opponent in number 9, Penn State in Happy Valley this week. Another game that we should probably be previewing as well. And then rounding out the top 20, we got Oklahoma State. They moved down 6 slots in the top 25. And then rounding out the top 25, we got Oklahoma. BYU was my upset of the week last week as they beat Kansas State. I called that one. I knew BYU was going to pull that one off. BYU moves up 20 slots as their first timers in the top 25 this year. And then at number 23, we got Kansas State. They moved down 10 slots from 13 to 23. And at number 24, we got Texas A&M. And then rounding up the top 25, we have Boise State. So some big games on the docket that we have, starting with number 20, Oklahoma State, going into number 23, Kansas State. This one is a Big 12 game, divisional game. This one should be a dandy here. Alan Bowman leading Oklahoma State. And then you got Avery Johnson, Ollie Gordon versus DJ Giddens. This one should be a really good one. Matt, go ahead. You have the floor here.
All right. Yeah, this will be a good one here to start the Kansas State's third Big 12 game here. Second. Sorry. I'm still trying to get used to the realignments here, but yeah, it'll be a good one at home. Coming off that disastrous performance last week in Provo, Utah against BYU, where they got seemingly a little too cocky going into that one and kind of didn't show up for that. I feel like they're gonna get things going again this week against solid Oklahoma State team that can get the pass game going. But give me Kansas State to control the ball on the ground a little bit more
Yeah.
at home and to be able to lick their wounds from what happened last week.
Yeah. I mean, Oklahoma State versus Utah. I mean, that was a closer game, 22-19. The Utes came out victorious. I knew Utah has the best defense in the Big 12, so I knew Oklahoma State was kind of in trouble as they limited Oklahoma State in that one. But 38-9, Kansas State losing to BYU. There's always some magical things happening out there in Provo, and they just sucked the powers out of Kansas State. In this game, yeah, I expect Kansas State to, have the home crowd behind them. I think this is going to be a high scoring game. I think the point total is 57.5 as Kansas State is favored by 5.5 in this game. I actually go K-State by a field goal. I won't go on 5.5. I'll go by a field goal late in this game. It might come down to OT, in my opinion, in this game. But I think this game is going to be filled with all types of fireworks. It's an 11 o'clock game. It's an early game. So everybody should be ready, locked in, loaded for this game. Next game we got on the docket, number 15, Louisville, going into number 16, Notre Dame. As Notre Dame coming off a shellacking, I mean, just coming off a beatdown of both of their opponents in the past 2 weeks, 66-7 against Purdue and 28-3 against Miami of Ohio. But Louisville, no slouch themselves. They just beat Georgia Tech 31-19. And then their last two games, they won against Austin Peay 62-0, Jacksonville State 49-14. So Matt, how do you see this one playing out? Should be a good one. Louisville has a high scoring offense, one of the best offenses in the nation under Jeff Brom. But Notre Dame has, come back to life after that Northern Illinois loss.
Yeah. Sure, you don't want to take your
I'll
tell your boys here. I'll let you go first.
Oh, well, yeah. I'll go first. They got back to the basics. Notre Dame, they realized, look, we're going to utilize Riley Leonard. He had 143 yards against, they had 270 yards last week against Miami, Ohio. And then making it simple for Riley Leonard. They're not, making it difficult for him. They're making the passes easy, and they're utilizing his athletic ability with that big offensive line. And if those guys continue to just wear down on guys, I think that they will be in good hands against Louisville, especially at home. They want to come back and they want to beat a ranked opponent at home to show that they're for real. This is a big time game for Notre Dame. This is also a big time game for Louisville. But when you look at when you look at the last 2 weeks for Riley Leonard, 2 100-yard games on the ground. They're not throwing it as much. I mean, he's like in the passing game, he's not, asked to do a whole lot, but he's, they're making it simple. They got back to the basics. They're running it 362 yards against Purdue as a team. And then, on the other side for Louisville, they you got a team that's really high scoring. Tyler Shaw's a great quarterback. They're going to air it out. They're going to spread it out. This is a team that has a lot of athletes on the field, that can, get after it. Chris Bell, Ja'Cory Brooks, guys like that, Donald Chaney, guys like that can spread it out and they can air it out a little bit. So it's going to be a tough one. I don't think that those guys that have much of a impact versus some of the guys like from Notre Dame in the defensive backfield. But it's going to be an interesting game. It's going to be an interesting game. I got Notre Dame winning. What is the spread here? 6.5. Yeah, 6.5. I got Notre Dame winning by a couple touchdowns, in my opinion. I think that Notre Dame, they got they took NIU for lightly, and they're gonna come back and for vengeance. I think they have a good chance at winning out, and then they got the big game at the end of the year against USC. But going up against hell of a team. I mean, you got Urlacher's son who's playing well, Xavier Watts back there, Ben Morrison back there. So I mean, this Notre Dame team is I think is starting to turn the corner, especially after that loss against NIU. But give me Notre Dame against Louisville this week.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, that Northern Illinois game for Notre Dame is what I like to call like the it game. Like it's that game that you should have won, but you lost, and it kind of gets you, you know, right back in gear, which they did, and they got their offense going the last 2 weeks, especially on the ground game. And Notre Dame's defense is elite. I mean, we knew that coming into the season, and it's going to be Louisville needs to play a little bit of a chess game to start this game to see how good their offense really is against Notre Dame, and see if they can put up points against them. And that's pretty much their only shot at beating them. But Notre Dame's defense is giving up an average of what, like a touchdown a game or something pretty crazy the first 4 games. So
their defense has been solid. I mean, look at Northern Illinois. I mean, albeit it's Northern Illinois, they played 2 MAC teams so far this year. But Northern Illinois, had success. They had, a couple nice chunk plays, but other than that, they really didn't score too many points, in the game. So, I mean, this defense has been pretty solid all season long.
Yeah. I'm going to take Notre Dame in this one, being at home, and they're going to be the more desperate team, especially for the fact that they do have that one loss and they can't lose pretty much any more going here on out into that USC game. If they want to spring themselves up back into that top 12 mark here, they should hopefully be able to do that after this game if they can make a statement. And I feel like they can, with their offense getting things going a little bit more the last couple games after that Northern loss there where they struggled throughout the game again. So give me Notre Dame, and I'll take them a couple scores in this one too.
Okay, no, absolutely, man. I'm going Notre Dame. And then next game we got on the slate, we got number 19 Illinois versus number 9 Penn State. We saw Illinois come off that big time win in Lincoln, Nebraska, going against the number 22 Nebraska Cornhuskers and Dylan Raiola, their star freshman there. Luke Altmaier last week had a hell of a game, 21-27, 215 yards, 4 touchdowns as the Fighting Illini have looked pretty damn good so far this year in lieu to a 4-0 start. But they're going against a tough Penn State team that's in the top 10 and going into hostile environment in Happy Valley, going up against a hell of a rushing attack with Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton, along with great quarterback play from Drew Aller, 41-58 so far this season, 729 yards, 8 touchdowns, 1 interception. As Penn State, they go against Penn State, who is 3-0 so far this season. Right now, Penn State is favored by 17.5 points. How do you see this one going? I think this game is a 6:30 game on NBC.
I do not see 17.5 for Penn State.
Hell no. Sure. That's what really shocked me.
I mean, their defense finally pitched a shutout last week. And I mean, the first 2 games, if you look at that West Virginia game, it was close until that second half. And there was a rain delay too. So who knows how that game could have gone, played it straightforward. Those rain delays could be a killer for a team. And I mean, every week I think Penn State's just going to, go out and really take care of business from start to finish. And they haven't done that since last week against the Kent State team. So I'm going to take Illinois in this one with the upset on the road. They've beaten 2 ranked teams, beaten a tough Nebraska team, who's one of the sleeper teams in the Big Ten this year, and who has been playing well on defense, went in there and put up 31 against them. I'm going to take Illinois in a close one.
Oof, that's a tough one, man. I'm actually gonna take the points for Illinois. 17 and a half. That's ridiculous. I don't think Penn State's offense has showed me anything. Well, I mean, obviously they have. I mean, they've gone against lesser opponents and won, but I think
Yeah.
Fighting Illini are a little bit are more battle tested. I mean, coming off of a W against Nebraska in Lincoln, the way Nebraska's been playing in overtime, that shows you some real grit from this team. So yeah, I'm definitely going. I'm definitely going with the points for Illinois. I don't know if they'll pull out the victory for Penn State. I think I'll take Penn State in like a 6-point game. A 6-point game. I think they'll win by 6 points. It's just the crowd noise. We'll see what Luke Altmaier is about. But like I said, man, they just went into Lincoln. Lincoln was packed, and they beat Nebraska in the top 25 game. So anything can happen with this Illinois team. The defense has been playing great. Bryant had 2 sacks last week for the defense. So it's all about if they can get after Drew Aller and kind of limit the big plays or the rushing attack from Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton. But yeah, give me Penn State by a squeaker. 6 points.
Quick question before we go on the next one here. Is this the best Illinois team since? Is this team better than the 08 team?
No,
because
that 08 team had Juice Williams.
I mean, they
had Rashad
win tomorrow.
No,
I mean, we could be talking a little bit.
Well, they are 4-0. They are 4-0 since this is the fourth time.
They had a couple of impressive victories.
First time since 1930. Fourth time since 1936. The first time since 2011 they've been 4-0. They started the season 4-0. But no, do I think this University of Illinois team is better than the 08 team? No chance. I mean, we'll see if they win. If they win in Happy Valley, I mean, you're talking about going against a team that went into the shoe and beat the number 1 team in the nation in Ohio State. I mean, a team in Ohio State that was, like primed to possibly win another national championship.
Yeah.
So or a national championship under Jim Tressel, a Hall of Fame type of coach. So yeah, no, I'm not going to say that this team is better than that team, but if they can beat Penn State, yeah, I mean, we should start having that conversation. Absolutely.
Wait after this week.
Do I think Luke Altmaier is like better than Isaiah Williams, Juice Williams? Hell no. I think Juice Williams was like like what you see now with like your running quarterbacks in college. Like he ran an RPO to like a T. Like he was athletically gifted on the run and throwing the football. And then you also had there's no body like Rashard Mendenhall on his team. So yeah, I'm not going that far. I'm not going that far. And then we got our game of the week, and I'm pretty sure this one is a shameless plug from Christian. I'm pretty sure he's going to be previewing this one on his website, so he'll probably drop that story an hour before the game, so you guys don't want to miss that from Christian Simpson. But this is the big game. We got number 2 Georgia going into number 4 Alabama, going into Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I mean, the stars are all over the field. Carson Beck, Jalen Milroe, Trevor Etienne, Jerram Miller. I mean, Ryan Williams, the 17-year-old sensation, All-American wide receiver out of high school. This is a hell of a game here. Defenders all over the field. I mean, you're gonna have first round pick after first round pick, top 3, picks. In this game, Michael Williams is another defensive line. He's actually questionable for the game, by the way. But this is going to be a hell of a game. How do you see this one playing out? This is the game of the week for Prime Sports World this week.
I mean, we can talk all the way up to the kickoff tomorrow night about the game and all. I mean, this is normally one of the games of the year, so it's going to be a fun one. I mean, it don't matter where it's at. I mean, both teams can win on the road, and they both proven that so far. The one thing I think is key for Alabama to win this game is to be able to keep the run game going, get the run game, give them the ball and try and wear down the Georgia defense enough to pull ahead in the second half. And if they can do this, I think Alabama can win this and pull away in a close one towards the end in the second half here. I mean, you got two stud quarterbacks going at each other, two great defenses. I'm going to take Alabama in this one. And
This year, so
I think they're going to get their run game and keep just pounding it towards Georgia and go after them.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Last couple, especially last week, Georgia just didn't look well against Kentucky, or 2 weeks ago. I'm sorry, Georgia didn't look well against Kentucky. They had a bye week. Hopefully, during the bye week, they got their act together. I'm pretty sure they did. In that game, Carson Beck wasn't great. They ran the ball well, but they didn't, have Kentucky had an excellent game plan. They, controlled the ball, they controlled the clock. And they made things difficult for Georgia. Georgia had to, come back on the last drive pretty much to win the game. When it comes down to this, I look at, guys like Mikael Williams, I look at Malachi Starks. They got a whole bunch of defenders. Dalen Everett, CJ Allen, right? I mean, it just keeps going down and down and down a list of great Georgia defenders versus Alabama. When I look at Alabama, they have been dominant this year. They went into last week. Or 2 weeks ago, they went into Camp Randall and they dominated Wisconsin, the University of Wisconsin, which everybody thought that was going to be a closer game. The way Alabama just really dominated that game. Jalen Milroe looked sensational. He went for 5 touchdowns in that game, 196 yards passing, 75 yards rushing. Ryan Williams looks like he's a star already at 17 years old. And the defense is what really, kind of, showed up in this game. Malachi Moore, Jihad Campbell led the way with 8 total tackles. LT Overton. I mean, they have guys. Tim Keenan's a big force in the middle as well for that team. They have guys on Alabama who I think are going to get after Carson Beck and make things difficult. And I think when you look at Georgia, they're missing Brock Bowers hard. They don't have a game breaker in the passing game for Carson Beck to really, get that ball to. And Alabama does. Alabama has, Ryan Williams. They have Jeremy Bernard. They have guys that can get after it. They have Jam Miller who they can run. Jalen Milroe is a runner as well, a guy that can a game breaker. He's can take off and for 40 yards and for a touchdown. He's a guy that can get 100 yards rushing and 200-300 yards passing. So if I'm gonna go, I think Georgia's favored by 2.5. I'm going Alabama money line straight up. I like Alabama's chances in this one. So yeah, give me Alabama to beat Georgia at home. But it's going to be a really good one. It's going to be a one that we're going to be talking about all week. And hopefully when Christian joins next week, we can kind of go over what we saw in this game. And by the way, speaking of Christian, don't forget to catch his article on Georgia, Alabama. An hour before the game, he'll probably preview that game. And then on to my upset of the week. I have a Pac-12. Both teams used to be in the Pac-12, but now one's in the. But now it's a Big 12 showdown. But I got Arizona going into Salt Lake City and beating the top 10 Utah Utes. I know Arizona came off that bad loss against K-State a couple weeks ago, 31-7. They're out for blood. I think a week off to kind of get their mind straight, to kind of get right in this game is going to work dividends for them. I like the No Fafita, Tataro, McMillan, combination. So, yeah, give me Arizona over Utah, but it's going to be a nice close one. Utah's favored by 12.5 points in that game.
I'm going to bring a little bit of heat on this one. What the hell?
Yeah, no, Utah's favored by 9.5.
I think Utah's covering on this one, especially at home. I mean, their defense is going to shut down U of A's offense like Kansas State already did.
You're going to say that. Of
Oh,
course,
yeah. All right. I don't like Utah either. All right. I'm going to take Arkansas over A&M on the road. I feel like one of the earlier games, early afternoon, I think, Arkansas is going to go take care of business. Texas A&M switch spots with them in the top 25 rankings by next week. So they get the ground game going, limit the turnovers through there. I think Arkansas is, one of those teams who can give most teams fits in the SEC, and A&M is going to be one of them.
Absolutely. So yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I do like that. I do like Arkansas over Texas A&M as well. Taylor Green, in that offense, man. Taylor Green's an amazing former Boise State quarterback, transfer, man. I mean, he's a pure dual threat guy, and he's got nice size. I like that offense a lot. And they have a stud wide receiver. Godly, his name is escaping me. Shoot, man.
Armstrong.
Yeah, there we go. Armstrong,
Andrew
he's
Armstrong.
amazing too. Yeah, he's Armstrong is a stud. They also have a good tight end as well. And I'm forgetting about my guy that totes the rock from
Jackson.
Arkansas too.
Yeah.
McQuindon, Jaquindon Jackson.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Arkansas has everything that they need to go on the 12th man and win that game.
They just need to finish the game this time. They should have had the Oklahoma State on the road a couple of weeks ago, but I mean, that's a lesson learned. We'll see if they learned it.
Absolutely. And you guys let us know what your upsets of the week are, and what you think about Georgia, Alabama as our game of the week. Give us your predictions in the comment section as well. And then going over to our PSW Heisman rankings, and I couldn't have a Heisman ranking number one. I couldn't have, I've been disrespectful for too long. I got Travis Hunter. I boosted him all the way from not even being ranked in my rankings to all the way to number one. This dude is the best pure football player that I have ever seen in my life, and I've seen a lot of good ones. I've seen Champ Bailey. I've seen that play both sides. I've seen I've seen a lot of them. Yeah, I've seen a lot of them, man. Charles Woodson, you know what I mean? Like even just kind of going in the vault, and I always said that Walter Payton, if he played both sides of the football, he'd be amazing. Bo Jackson, amazing athlete. I always thought Walter Payton was the best pure football player that I probably ever seen, like in terms of tape and stuff like that. But this kid Travis Hunter takes the cake because he affects the game on both sides of the ball at an elite level. He's not just going out there like Devin Hester, trying to catch vertical routes, or he's not playing nickel and he might get a tackle here and there. No, this guy is making game-changing plays, interceptions, shutting down the number one wide receiver on one side, forcing fumbles, making big tackles, and on the other end, he's catching the ball for 100 yards, making big plays, touchdowns, being his team's number one wide receiver option. So Travis Hunter definitely, and it's, especially if Colorado continues to win, and they're in the thick of things in the Big 12, which I think their style of play gives them a chance in the Big 12 against Big 12 opponents. I like Travis Hunter to win this award this season. You just can't get away from it. He's just too good of a football player. He's the best pure football player that I've ever seen You can argue with your mama about it.
No,
You
I
know,
mean, yeah, I agree. I mean, you make an impact on both sides of the ball like he has already throughout this season. And I mean, they go to Orlando tomorrow, play a good UCF team.
oh,
And
that's
I
gonna be
think
a
Colorado,
good game.
yeah,
That's gonna be a good game.
that'll be a fun high school. Should be some points on the board for that one. So, um,
Speaking
he's
of
much better the ball.
Arkansas,
He can make the biggest impact tomorrow. Because what I think last game he had what like 2 picks or something on defense, and he had like 2 or 3 touchdowns another game. So it's like he's consistent, but he dominates on one side that takes Colorado to the top,
yeah.
the game.
Speak,
So
speaking of Arkansas, KJ Jefferson's on UCF, the
yeah,
former Arkansas quarterback. For all those years, for the last couple years, he's transferred to UCF. So that's gonna be a pretty good game, man, in my opinion. But I think Travis Hunter he's gonna have another impact game in that game. And then at number 2, I got Cam Ward, who's playing right now. He's been phenomenal. Although he's playing against a tough defense, who's been pretty opportunistic against him, but he's been absolutely phenomenal. He's probably going for his fourth, fifth straight 300-yard game passing. I think he has one 400-yard game sprinkled in there. He'll probably go for 350 tonight when it's all said and done. And then at number 3, I got Quinn Ewers, who's been banged up, and Arch Manning has pretty much taken over a little bit of the reins while he's been gone. And Arch Manning has looked like a Heisman Trophy candidate himself. I think it's just a product of how good Texas is overall as a football team. But Quinn Ewers is pretty damn fantastic. And then number 4, we got Carson Beck from Georgia. Although last, I don't know why I keep looking at my door. He's flexing up and on. Although last weekend,
on the wind outside.
yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's probably the wind outside. Yeah,
Rattling around.
it is windy out here, man. Carson Beck didn't look so good last week, but we'll see how he looks against Alabama. That'll determine if he stays in the top 5 in the Heisman rankings. And then obviously Jalen Milroe, 2 weeks ago playing against Wisconsin, 5 touchdowns. I couldn't necessarily put him over all 4 of those guys, but I have a big estimation that if I had to predict, I think Jalen Milroe will probably be in the top 2 next after this week. And then my dark horse is Nico Iamaleava from Tennessee. He's been flat out sensational for them. It's got them in the top 5, top 6, top 5. So yeah, give me Nico Iamaleava as a dark horse for the Heisman Trophy. Do you have any other Heisman candidates that you're looking at, Matt, that we probably missed here?
I mean, not really. This is a pretty solid list right here. And yeah, as you mentioned, we'll see how the Bama Georgia game goes, and one of them could vault into that 3rd spot, and see if Cam Ward can pull off the comeback tonight, and solidify that top 3 or even number 2 spot there. So, and my boy Nico out in Rocky Top there. It's a tough one for them. I mean, especially for the fact that their defense has been so solid too. But I mean, he keeps producing. So, no, overall, it's a solid list. And yeah, I again agree with the keeping Travis Hunter up there, and we'll see how he does tomorrow.
Another guy we got to talk about. Another guy we got to probably missed out here. There's a couple guys. I mean, there's a lot of good football players out here, but we got to look at Miller Moss as they continue to play, Drew Aller as they continue to get better for Penn State. And then there's a couple running backs that I want to kind of shout out to outside of, because the beginning of the season, it was like Ollie Gordon, Nicholas Singleton, Katron Allen. But I got to give a shout out to Caleb Johnson from Iowa, who's been absolutely fantastic so far this year. 82 carries, 685 yards, 9 touchdowns. He's averaging 8.4 a pop. And then another guy from Boise State, obviously, Aston Genty. We all know about him, 6 touchdowns. in the first week of the season. But Ashton Genty, Caleb Johnson, both guys are on the radar. Ashton Genty was actually in the top 5 after a couple weeks. He had like 9 touchdowns, I think, in the first 2 weeks of the season or something like that. So, anyways, that's been a wrap, man. That's been a show, man. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast here at Prime Sports World on College Football Showdown. And we will be back here next Friday here discussing all your college football content. So you guys don't want to miss that content. And we'll be back here Monday for the NFL review show and Monday Night Football preview show. You guys don't want to miss that content with David, me, TJ, Christian, and Matt James as well. And in case you missed us, you can catch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. And you can catch us on all streaming platforms. The podcast can be heard. That's Apple Music, Samsung Music, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and Spotify, ladies and gentlemen. And also to go ahead and check out the Prime Sports World website here that I am dropping, so you guys don't want to miss that content as well. But I am your host, Israel Rivera. That's Matt James. And before I get out of here, as I like to say, in case I miss you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, ladies and gentlemen. Sayonara, suckers.
All right, guys. Have a good weekend. Be safe. Have fun.